Morning, Dave.
10 o'clock. Yeah, you're 1720, right? Yeah. Okay.
Sandy,
Morning, Sandy.
I'm gonna put this here
Yeah.
and then make me another copy.
Yeah, that's fine.
Doesn't matter. I'll just sit where I normally sit. I'll sit where I normally sit. Okay.
Can you send Tyler's not here, right?
Right, he's out of town.
Okay. Hey, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, a couple meetings ago, you guys talked about credit card for administrator and for Steve. If you look in your handbooks, you need to provide ordinance to do this, and you also have to provide a policy. And you can find that in Act 266 of 1995, and you can also find it on
So we need an ordinance?
Yes, you can find it in your handbook. I'm trying to find the page
Okay,
number.
that's
It's
fine.
under finance expenditures.
Okay,
May municipalities use credit cards.
okay,
1995, Michigan Codified Law 129-241 allows municipalities to use credit cards for procurement and authorizes municipalities to accept credit card payments. Both require formal action by the local legislative body to use credit cards for procurement, and both an ordinance and a policy are required. The Act lists what must be included in the policy, and authorizing resolution is required to accept payments by credit cards. So basically, for you guys to give him a credit card, you have to have a policy in place, how he's to use it, who's supposed to have it, and you have to have an ordinance authorizing it before you give him such a credit card.
okay, that's.
And I understand this is already a done deal, but if we get these things right, if we go ahead and get our policies in place, then we can be up on
We
the
just
up and
can't
up.
let him use it, so we'll just have to lock him up.
Not, lock them up.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we do a resolution versus an ordinance?
The ordinance and a policy.
Yeah, it sounds like.
And it'd be a fairly simple ordinance, and when you look in the act, it basically, you could almost copy and paste the act, you know. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to put together, but to comply with the law, we really need that policy in there.
Thank you.
And that's all I have today.
So what we really want to talk about this morning is the infrastructure grant and how we would come up with our match. UP Engineering, Chris called on Friday. It looks like within the budget that we have $800,000 that we probably will not be able to afford to do 8th Street between Oak and Elm, that it'll have to be confined to Elm Street. So we have a 10% match, which would be $80,000, and right now, UP Engineering believes that North Houghton County Sewer will provide us with approximately $60,000 of that match. So our requirement is to come up with about $20,000. One of the things that's being done with this project, if it were to be successful and it was granted to us, we would replace water lines. And every year we get $17,700 from Michigan American Water for the lease of our water lines. That money was specifically set aside in an account with the idea that it would be used in the future to replace water lines. So obviously this construction probably wouldn't take place until the summer of 2018. So there would be $35,000 in that account. And personally, I think that's where the money ought to come from, because again, we are replacing water lines. I mean, so that So in terms of tomorrow night's meeting, I think number one, do we have the money? Well, yes, I would argue, yes, we do.
Yes.
And in terms of where it should come from, I think it should come from the water fund, because again, replacing the water lines under Elm Street. And just as a for instance, when we replaced the water lines, for the fire hydrants on Pine Street, that was about, I think it was $26,600, something like that. That came from the general fund, because again, we had never set those funds aside. So, again, I think that's, number one, I think we have the money, and number two, I think that's where it should come from. And to be perfectly honest, if we can get an entire street rebuilt for $20,000, I think we should.
Oh, I agree with you 120%.
So,
All
right.
And good thing that you started that fund.
Right, so that we
To have that go into a fund only to be used for that.
So, I mean, the money's always been there, but this way it's set aside specifically, and so, so I think that's the right thing to do, so that's really about the only thing that I have, so that we can go back to tomorrow night's meeting and say that, we're in favor of moving forward with it, and that the funds would come from the water fund,
Water,
so.
I agree.
All right, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay,
Not at this moment, but I think.
in that case, we can adjourn.
One closing comment. Has anybody gotten with the auditor, and can anybody explain the discrepancies between what you had for the total on those spreadsheets and what was actually in the audit? There was a $26,000 difference there, and we never got an explanation. And would the council invite the auditor to a meeting to explain that?
Sure.
Do you have an answer for
It'll
that?
probably come after the tax season, because I know Jackie's, so probably the May meeting. But we can certainly ask her to come, and she is scheduled to do her audit in June. So.
But as far as, do you know why there was that difference?
And now, which one are you referring to? Like where the line was in there?
Sydney, it amounts to about $26,000 difference. Your total you took from one part of the audit, and the total should have matched.
I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, because there was a thing. Yeah, I'll get an explanation. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about in that.
Right,
So, yep, I will
and
ask
then,
Jackie.
has there ever been an explanation to why the double entry was made 3 years running?
The double entry.
The double entry on the DDA account.
Are you talking about the line that was?
Right.
Okay.
That was
no,
running
it was a mistake.
for 3 years running. It was the same mistake for 3 years.
Well, no, last year was the first year we ever did that Excel spreadsheet. Up until then, I believe they had just been done on typed sheets.
Right.
So that was an error.
15, 16, and 17 is where it comes up in. So this is the 3rd year for spreadsheets.
Right. But again, that's a budget. It doesn't impact our actual numbers. I mean, our actual numbers are what's in the audit, and
Right.
the schedule's tied to the actual numbers.
So the auditor did not use anything from that spreadsheet to do her audit?
No, she uses actual numbers. I mean, she actually literally goes in and, for example, reviews invoices. She looks at deposits to the bank. So for actual, her only interest in budget is if the budget is, if actual expenditures are greater than the budget, then she would be concerned. But that's otherwise.
Well, I have just a huge concern that if you guys are doing a budget with numbers that are off $26,000, that you're not able to do a budget. And why would those spreadsheets be off so much if that's real money you guys are deciding to spend. And if you've got a $26,000 difference than what's actually in the accounts, why are you even using those spreadsheets?
Well, and again, number one, it's an error. There was an error in there. I don't know, everyone had those spreadsheets, and of course no one apparently footed the thing to see, that it didn't add up. But number two, actual expenditures had nothing, the budget guides your actual expenditures, and that is really what we're concerned with, is that actual expenditures do not exceed whatever is in the budget.
Right, well, if you're using those numbers that are on that spreadsheet to tell you how much you have to spend,
Right.
and it's not actually what's in the
I
account.
agree, there was an error there, and, yeah.
Right.
But again, if you look at the actual line items, it's the line items that guide our expenditures. And so, yes, the total was incorrect, but I would argue that the line items were what guided our actual expenditures.
Well, and I understand that the line items guided your expenditures, but if the line items don't match what's actually in the account, then, you know, I don't see how you guys can make an educated budget if you don't have the right numbers to begin with. You know?
Well,
But this is for, we could debate this
yeah,
for a
and I
while.
will ask Jackie to specifically comment on that item, because I know what
Right.
you're talking about in
And then-
the audit report.
And then for the budget next year, let's do something more accurate, because it's just,
Well,
it's not fair to the trustees to
No.
have the wrong information in front of them.
But I would also emphasize too, that the trustees have an obligation to verify things as well. I mean,
I do
mistakes
believe
happen, and so, you know, people need to check numbers. I mean, it's, you know, that happens, nobody's perfect.
That goes back to my, my comments about oversight. If you don't have anybody checking, if there's nobody in charge to look, then that kind of thing
I
happens.
agree, and
when-
again, it's 7 people have an obligation to look at numbers, and you know, it's not any one person's obligation.
Actually, it is. In section 65(5), it specifically states it is the clerk's duties to provide that information and make sure it's correct.
Right.
You know, and if we continue to discourage having a strong clerk to allow for that supervision, then these mistakes will continue to happen because there is no oversight, none whatsoever. When you have one person providing numbers and nobody's checking them, which the clerk should be according to 65.5, you know, these things are going to happen, and far worse things could happen, you know, and that's why we need the clerk. You also stated in a couple of meetings during February that you had not heard from Rob, and then I read a news report that says he turned in his keys on February 6th.
Right.
What's...
I have talked to him, he has said he will now resign. So
No,
yes,
no.
I asked him several times, you know, if you know, I still don't have a letter of resignation, and the
For the
council
clerk.
has, right, and the, right.
For the clerk's position, but the other position as.
He turned in his keys.
No. The news report, and I talked to Rick Allen. Rick Allen said that he resigned as clerk on February 6th, and when asked about the letter that you guys submitted to him, he said he had already turned in his resignation as clerk.
Right.
Why were you telling us that you hadn't heard from him when on February 6th, actually it was February 4th when he turned in his keys? You know,
Okay.
why did you say you hadn't heard from him when
Number one,
you
I don't think I
obviously had talked to him?
I don't think I was here that day in particular when he turned in his key, and I had talked to him subsequent, and I actually asked him if he would stay on in case I need a signature as a clerk. He has now told me definitively he intends to resign. So at our meeting in April, we will accept his resignation and move on.
You know, that just flies in the face of what we see in the news reports and what he's told the news reports.
Right.
I mean, you know, for him to turn in his keys, who did he tell that he resigned to? Who was in the office?
I don't know. I was not here.
So nobody told you afterwards, after he came in and turned in his keys,
He turned in
nobody
his
told you
keys.
anything?
You know, I'm not going to argue, but he turned in his keys, but he did not tell me that he had resigned as clerk.
And
And,
he
in
did-
fact, I asked him to
And-
stay on in case I needed a signature as clerk.
When did you ask him to stay on?
Several times.
So you
during
did
the
speak
month.
with him during the month of February?
Yes, towards the end of
And you told the
February.
council that you had not spoken with him?
I don't know at what dates I did, but at the time I said I had not spoken with him, I had not spoken with him.
Okay, that was on several occasions in February, Dave, that you said you had not spoken with him.
And I had not. I have not had any communications with Ron at all.
Well, I just don't understand how you can ask him to stay on as clerk and not have any communications with him. I mean, was it at the end of February that you talked to him?
Yes, it was probably after the mid-month, yeah. I mean, I don't keep a log.
See,
when I talk.
here's the problem, Dave. Somebody in this office knew that he had turned in his keys and resigned.
I don't know that
and-
he actually gave a name, his resignation, but okay.
You know, I mean, it seems like to me, somebody in the office, Corrine, Jim, Joe, or somebody had to give you this information other than Rob because you had not spoken to him. Who was it that gave you the information that he resigned?
You know, well, number one, I don't believe he ever said he resigned. He turned in his keys.
But I mean, who gave you the information that he turned in his keys?
Probably Corinne.
Probably Curry.
Yes, because she's the only one in the
So
office.
nobody else.
I would assume, yeah. And again, I have asked him.
I mean, because this is a he said, she said thing.
And
Because,
I would ask for a written, I still need a written resignation and the council needs to approve it.
actually, you don't. But
Okay?
that's for another argument. But it's important that we have a clerk in place to handle these things. And for this not to be on the agenda for tomorrow, that's a travesty. You know, I mean, you guys are having this is an emergency to not have a clerk.
Okay.
You know, the only reason I can find that you would not be filling that spot now is that you want somebody else in that spot and you're arranging for that to happen. That cannot be happening. Get the nominations in and get the process started immediately. It should be added to the agenda for tomorrow night.
Okay.
I cannot think of anything on the agenda more important than filling an elected position with the supervisory capacity that the clerk has. Nobody in this office is supposed to be doing the clerk's job. It hasn't been succeeded to him in writing or orally. So let's get it on the agenda.
Right, anything else?
Nothing else, so we are adjourned.
Right.
other department, that would have been cleared already with him working part-time.